Welcome back to Cheating Secrets. Today's story begins here. Brianna and I had been husband and wife for just over 5 years. Our marriage wasn't flawless, but it had a steady beat. Quiet meals at home, movie nights on weekends, inside jokes. That still made us laugh. For a long time, I believed that rhythm meant stability. She preferred order. I took comfort in being the one who supplied it. A few months before everything unraveled, small shifts began appearing. She stayed later at work. Her phone never left her hand. Messages came in at odd hours, and she brushed them off as job related. I accepted it without question, because that's how trust works. It fills in blanks before you even realize they exist. When she asked for room to breathe, I stepped back, and she claimed exhaustion. I cooked dinner, and there was no sudden explosion, no dramatic turning point. Just a gradual tightening, like a door being pushed closed millimeter by millimeter. I kept convincing myself it was temporary, that every relationship hits a stretch like this and then evens out again. Still, something about her felt different. Her laughter sounded forced. Her kisses were brief, distracted, like her mind was already somewhere else. Then came the night that changed everything. At 3:12 a.m., Brianna's phone lit up on the bedside table. The glow hit the wall before it reached my eyes. A short vibration followed, sharp, unmistakable, the kind you notice only when the house is completely silent. She didn't stir. She simply rolled away from me, tugging the blanket higher. The motion so smooth it felt rehearsed. For a second, the light reflected off her shoulder, then vanished. I watched the screen until it went dark again. I only needed one line from the notification preview. "You make me feel alive." My heart didn't race. My stomach didn't flip. Everything inside me stayed eerily still. That kind of calm only comes when some part of you already knows the truth. I turned onto my side, but the room felt heavier. I could have picked up the phone. I could have woken her and demanded answers. I didn't do either. Instead, I memorized the moment at the time, the vibration, the exact feel of it. That wasn't the first message she'd concealed. It was simply the first one I caught by sunrise. I had a plan, not one fueled by shouting or confrontation, but by clarity. Brianna always claimed she valued honesty. She said it during arguments, during reconciliations, during every conversation where I asked why she felt distant. Just be honest, she'd tell me, so I decided I would be just, not in the way she'd imagined. I woke around 7. Brianna was already in the kitchen, softly humming to herself. Everything looked normal, but I knew that normal no longer existed. She glanced up when I entered. "You were up early," she said, smiling as if nothing had cracked. "Couldn't sleep?" I replied, pouring coffee. She leaned against the counter, tapping her fingers against her mug. A pause settled between us, the kind that hangs heavy when both people sense something is about to break. Then she spoke. "I need to tell you something." I stayed silent. "I slept with Michael yesterday," she said. I didn't want to keep lying. "You deserve the truth." Her voice was steady, polished, like she was reciting something she'd practiced. I took a slow drink of coffee. "Congratulations," her expression faltered. "That's it? That's all you're going to say? It sounds like you already said everything." "I thought you'd be angry," she murmured. "I was," I said. 3 months ago." The quiet that followed swallowed the kitchen. She tried to justify it, said it was about closure, about unresolved feelings, about refusing to live with secrets. Her words washed over me without landing. While she spoke, I was running numbers in my head. 2 years of rent-a-car insurance, tuition for a course she abandoned halfway through, a necklace I bought last Christmas, the hospital bill after she injured her ankle on vacation, $90,000 when she finally stopped talking. I nodded once. "You said you wanted honesty. Let's begin there." She frowned. "What does that mean? You're out." Later that night, after she fell asleep on the couch, I opened my laptop and wrote an email. Subject: separation, private and quiet. I sent it to Angela, my attorney. Her response came within an hour. "I'll handle it discreetly." Exactly what I wanted. Angela called the next morning while I was pulling into the office parking lot. Her tone was calm, professional. "David, you're aiming for a clean separation. No court spectacle." "Exactly." "Then we document every shared expense you covered. Straight facts. I'll have a reconciliation statement ready tonight." When I hung up, the framework of the plan was already clear. This wasn't about revenge. It was about balance. That evening, I sat at the dining table, the same one where we'd once toasted anniversaries. I spread out receipts, bills, payment confirmations, notes spanning years. Each figure felt like evidence in a case I never agreed to be part of. When Angela's draft arrived, it was flawless. Simple, direct, relationship, reconciliation statement at the bottom, total paid on your behalf. $90,000. I stared at that number for a long time. It didn't feel cruel. It felt final. Before bed, Brianna lingered near the counter, her voice suddenly gentle. We should talk. About what else? What happened? Maybe we can fix this. I was honest with you, David. That should count. For something. I nodded slowly. It does. It means the balance finally adds up. She looked confused. What are you talking about? You'll understand tomorrow. I lay down beside her. She was asleep within minutes. At 9:04 a.m., the doorbell rang. Brianna, still in her robe, hair tied back, orange juice in hand, answered the door. A courier stood there holding a slim brown envelope. Delivery for Mrs. Brianna. She signed, easily smiling, probably assuming it was a surprise from me. I stayed seated at the table, scrolling through emails. As she tore it open, the first page slid out halfway before she froze. The law firm's logo sat boldly at the top, Angela's name printed beneath it. She pulled the document fully free, reading fast. Her mouth slowly fell open. What is this? She whispered. Took a sip of coffee. A love bill, Av. What? Every rent payment, every gift, every expense I covered. $90,000. All itemized. You can't be serious. Completely. She scanned the pages again, shaking her head. This is insane. You're putting a price on us. No, I said calmly. I'm pricing what I paid for the version of you that claimed to be honest. She let out a sharp, nervous laugh. This isn't funny. Neither was the message I saw at 3 in the morning. The color drained from her face. You checked my phone? I didn't need to. Her hands trembled. You're humiliating me. No, I said, standing. You handled that yourself. I'm just closing the account. Her eyes filled, but the tears stayed put. I made a mistake. Then this is the receipt. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Where are you going? She asked. Somewhere quiet. I left before she could reach for another excuse. I drove aimlessly for an hour before stopping at a small apartment complex on the edge of town. By the third day, she was posting quotes online. Honesty hurts, but it heals. Growth starts with accountability. Friends reached out asking if we were okay. We're balancing the books. I replied, at work. My coworker Sandy studied me during lunch. You seem strangely calm. Calm costs less than chaos, I said. She laughed, unaware I meant every word. Later that week, Brianna appeared in my office parking lot. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. David, please, we can fix this. It was one mistake. You already paid for it. This isn't you, she insisted. You're not cruel. I'm not cruel, I said. I'm precise. She broke, then real tears this time. I was trying to be honest. Isn't that what you wanted? I met her gaze. Honesty isn't free, Brianna. It comes with a cost. You just didn't expect the invoice. She covered her face and walked away slowly, shoulders sagging as the weight finally settled. 2 days later, Angela called. She signed the divorce acknowledgement. I'll file today. Quietly, I asked, as requested. By week's end, everything was finalized. Courtroom, no witnesses, just signatures. That night, Brianna sent one last message. I hope someday you understand why I told you. I replied with a single line. I do. You wanted to feel clean. I just made sure the numbers matched. Then I deleted her contact. The next morning, I woke to silence. No buzzing phone. No performances. Just peace. 2 weeks later, Brianna requested mediation. Her attorney sent the notice through Gina, a retired judge who handled private sessions from an office near downtown. I agreed to the meeting, not because I wanted another argument, but because I wanted everything settled. When I entered the room, Brianna was already seated. She looked composed on the surface-tailored black suit, hair neatly pulled back, but her eyes told a different story. Exhaustion lived there, mixed with panic she couldn't fully hide. Gina motioned for us to sit. Let's keep this respectful. Today is about final clarification. Brianna didn't wait. This $90,000 claim is absurd. You don't get to charge someone for loving them. I kept my tone even. I itemized everything that had nothing to do with love. Her attorney adjusted in his chair. Mr. David, emotional pain isn't quantifiable the way rent is. I slid a folder across the table, and that's why emotions aren't listed. Only verifiable expenses: rent, repairs, tuition, insurance. Every figure has proof. Brianna flipped through the pages, her fingers shaking. You're doing this to hurt me? No, I replied. If I wanted to hurt you, this wouldn't be private. This is factual, clean, honest. Gina met Brianna's eyes gently. The documentation is thorough. This isn't personal, it's financial. Brianna let out an unsteady laugh. You'd think I bought property instead of destroying a marriage. Sometimes the cost is the same, I said. Her voice wavered. So you don't love me anymore? I did, I answered softly. That's why we're sitting here now. The room fell quiet. Brianna wiped at her eyes, struggling to keep herself together. Fine, she said. You win. There's no winning, I replied. Just a clean zero. She stood abruptly, gathered her papers, and left. Her lawyer followed. I exited moments later without turning around. The ending didn't need witnesses. 3 months later, Angela called. Funds received, full amount transferred, settlement complete. So soon? I asked. She wired it this morning. Divorce will be finalized by Friday. I thanked her and ended the call, glancing around the room. The space felt larger somehow, like it could finally breathe. That afternoon, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Inside was a short note. I never meant to destroy us. I thought telling the truth would make things lighter. I was wrong. I hope you find peace even if it's without me. I read it twice, then placed it inside the same folder as the settlement paperwork. Just another record of something that once existed. That evening, I drove out to the coast. For the first time in months, my thoughts weren't looping. I sat there watching the tide move in and out, steady and impartial, like a ledger correcting itself. My phone vibrated once in my pocket. Probably her. I didn't check. I powered it off and set it beside me. The quiet felt clean, not heavy. When I returned home, Angela had sent the final notice. Divorce finalized. Settlement logged. Case closed at the bottom. My eyes paused on a familiar line. Paid in full. Your way. I let out a long breath. It didn't feel like vengeance. It felt complete. That night I poured a single glass of bourbon and stood by the window. For once, the silence didn't bounce back at me. It settled. 3 months later, life found its rhythm again. I woke early, made coffee, left the window open just to hear the city wake up. No alarms, no buzzing screens, no tension hiding behind polite conversation. The quiet wasn't empty anymore, was deserved. Work felt lighter too. Sandy noticed one morning as she handed me a report. You look different, she said, like you finally slept. I did, I told her, for 3 months straight. She smiled. Guess honesty worked out. Eventually, I said. Not long after, another envelope arrived. No return address. Same handwriting. Inside, a brief message. I'm leaving the city. Trying to do better. I hope you are too. No guilt, no excuses. Just an ending. I folded it once and placed it in the drawer beside the old invoice, not to remember her, but to remember the lesson. That night, at 3:12 a.m., my phone lit up on the nightstand. For a split second, my chest tightened. Same hour, same glow. Then I saw it was just a calendar alert I'd forgotten to delete. I smiled and swiped it away. I didn't win anything. I just stopped losing. Brianna wanted honesty, and she received it in the only language that ever mattered: numbers, paper, and silence. In the end, the bill wasn't punishment. It was a statement. Paid in full. Her way. Thank you for watching.